welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton at Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, and London, England, as well as Paris, France, of course. You good old boys in Canada, we love you in Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south, in the land of the free and the home of the brave, on the beautiful October the 27th, 2020. Ronald Portes, bonjour, Big C. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, I just want to say to all of those Americans who thought their lives were important and who was waiting around on a stimulus package from the government that the House passed back on the 31st of January, the HEROES Act. Mitch McConnell said today, screw you.
Yeah.
He's adjourned the Senate to come back until after the election. So all of those who are hoping to have some money for Thanksgiving from the federal government, it's not getting a damn dime. But I want to thank our frontline healthcare workers, our nurses, our doctors, our first responders. They don't worry about what the Senate does. They go out and help Americans every day.
Yeah, they help them every day, Big C. I will always tell you today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars never stop arriving. Also, all around the world, just say Google or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear welcome to the show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic, and he'll do his thing, and I really appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports on Spotify. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Roku TV, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. But you better have a smart TV, or you'll be looking at a still picture. Big C, I love giving out our Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. And I'm hearing it give it out on more radio stations. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, it's very important that everybody gives out the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number, Charlton. We lose some 24 veterans a day to veteran suicide in this country, Charlton. We lose a lot of everyday citizens also. But to have veterans dying at that horrific rate from this horrific disease is unacceptable in America. Not only that, Charlton, we've lost over 11,000 veteran lives to COVID-19,
wow,
which the president keeps saying is going away. The only thing that's going away from COVID-19 in America is American lives, Charlton. We've lost over 250,000 American citizens to COVID-19.
Wow.
But this National Suicide Prevention Hotline number, Charlton, is here for all Americans, and it helps all Americans, especially in this time of need. We know that a lot of depression is going on in America right now due to unemployment, not able to pay your bills, not able to protect your family. But our veterans need protection all the time because they spent their careers protecting us as private citizens in America. So we give out the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number, Charlton, and we want more Americans to care about that number and give it out also.
We can only do our best. 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net, and you can hopefully get some help. Also, I'm very happy to be affiliated with Valley Homes Weekly TV, on Dish TV, DirecTV, AT&T Uverse, TV 53, home of the San Francisco Giants and the Say Hey Kids, as well as a home run leader, Barry Bonds. When you reach out to him, just tell him Big C sent you. The goal is simple: recruit 10,000 real estate agents and brokers all over this country to put people back to work, just like car dealerships do it, McDonald's does it, and watch TV and real estate work for you. 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. And if you're looking for opportunities in real estate, go to bigcsports.pacwm.com. That's bigcsports.pacwm.com. Anywhere in the world, just download the app on Spotify or Google or Alexa or iHeartRadio podcast. When you just say Big C Sports Podcast, it will pop up on whatever app's available. Just download that in your phone, and you can hear Big C. Starts 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So, Big C, what would Richard Pryor have said about Mitch McConnell telling all the people that voted for Trump, you've been hoodwinked, you've been bamboozled, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean, for people to sit there and think that this administration is caring about them, you think about the sense of urgency and expediency that they needed to put a Supreme Court justice on the court
Caucasian
to
woman.
control the laws of America. And yet your taxpayer dollars pay the salary of those Supreme Court justices,
Yeah.
as well as all those senators. I think when Mitch McConnell said, votes matter, and when they took control of the Senate, he said if you didn't like what they were doing, you shouldn't have voted for them.
Yeah.
And all of those senators, 20 of them, are going back home into their districts because they're up for re-election.
Yeah.
You should tell them you don't appreciate how they treated you and your family.
Yeah, it's amazing. People may not understand this, but the Republican Party, the Senate right now, they're trying to block votes in Pennsylvania and also Wisconsin and Michigan, and they're spreading out to other states too. They've been told no by some governors. They've been told yes by others. That's the current government of the United States under the Republican Senate trying to block people from voting. Isn't that crazy? You gotta text the word vote to 26797 so you can get registered. You gotta tell all your friends that Big C in the NFL said to vote. If you're afraid, just tell them Big C sent you. Text the word vote to 26797. You know what's interesting, Big C? When I hear so many people talk about, no matter what political side they're on, what kind of a person would vote for their own ability not to vote? If this new Senate that we have right now until they get replaced, they are actually blocking Americans from voting. They don't want more people voting, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this has been throughout American history as they constantly tried to block minorities from voting, especially in the southern states. And this is why I say that the Constitution is always a bad piece of paper. The preamble to the Constitution, where all men are created equal. Black people are not considered people in the Constitution. They're 2/3 of a person, and that's how they're treated still today in America.
Well, this affects white people too, Big C. It's deeper than skin color. It's about having an oligarchy of power and an autocratic system.
But when you look in the southern states, Charlton, you got to spend time in the southern states. They don't have voter suppression in California, but they have it in 13 Jim Crow states where they've been filing lawsuits to keep people from voting, to block mail-in ballots, all of those things. You have to be in the place where it happens. As I always say, who's in the room where it happens? That's where it's happening at. Regardless of nationality, those states are majority minority, and they block the votes in those states. They close down voting polls in those states. That's called suppression.
Well, those black Americans can't change it by themselves. The white people standing right next to them, they're also being blocked, and they need the whole coalition of Americans to go out and vote. The next Senate's got to be overrun, Big C. Senate Majority Leader, as you mentioned, Mitch McConnell, helping Trump's confirmation. Think about this. He helped Trump's confirmation with Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett. No mask again at the White House, and his family just, you can't even go to the White House without having some issues, because even Chief Justice Roberts, he didn't go because he didn't want to get COVID-19. And then they wouldn't let Mike Pence go because he's positive, but they're saying he's not. Everybody else they're saying around him was positive, but it didn't get him. But you notice how he didn't go to a Supreme Court Justice nomination. And then after all that, McConnell tells Trump, F you, because the Senate is in recess, as you mentioned. They refuse to resume talks on passing its COVID-19 stimulus package. POTUS is always running on a strong economy. That's the only thing he has to go on. And now he can't even run on that as Americans are struggling. The financial markets are hurting. The 401ks in the state and local governments are hurting. And the down-ballot Republicans are in an effort to hurt Joe Biden's economy, refusing for the COVID-19 pandemic. And it's hurting their own people, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, it shows that they don't care about American citizens, Charlton. And as I tell you, when you think about minorities of African Americans, they're only 13% of the population of the United States. You can hurt an equal amount of Caucasians in the United States, Charlton, and you still won't hurt the majority of them. And so that's how they look at it. Yeah,
but I still think you're wrong, because white people starve too, and a lot of them are in food lines. No matter what you think about the color thing, they're hurting just as bad as anybody. It's about rich and poor. It has nothing to do with color, in my opinion. They're also saying, this is by NBC News. I know a lot of guys just want to watch the game, and that's why all this garbage happened, because too many people don't read politics. They want to know who's going to win a football or basketball or baseball game. Early voting could hit an all-time record, smashing over 100 million voters by Election Day, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, there's already been over 66 votes cast, and we're a week away from the election. So the enthusiasm that's in America, I want to see those people that turned out for the Me Too movement, Charlton, right after the inauguration. I want to see all those people that turned out for the anti-gun legislation, Charlton, and vote the way that they marched, Charlton, years ago.
And where are the Me Too movement? And that's it started with white women, but black women have been counting Me Too since 1619, but they had no rights. And then so white women started shouting Me Too movement about sexual harassment. But where are they right now when the men that voted for judges who sexually harass women to push another woman onto the Supreme Court? You don't hear groups of white women mass protesting. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, this is what I've been looking for, and I haven't seen it. Hopefully they turn out for the poll.
Yeah, hopefully they will. The Trump administration, it's just so important to repeat it because right now we're looking at the Dodgers. Maybe they'll win the World Series tonight. Maybe they won't. Maybe we'll have Game 7. Who knows? But as people are watching the sports shows and wondering who's going to get traded and who's going to, and nothing's wrong with that. But you got to see with 2 eyes if you got 2 eyes. If not, then make the best you can on 1 eye. The Trump administration, and this is for people who voted for him, white suburban women. The Trump administration is fighting in federal courts to block the states from giving billions of dollars in emergency food stamps to the lowest income Americans during this COVID-19 pandemic. And last I checked, no matter what color you are, whether you're black, white, red, brown, yellow, a kid with a hungry belly is a kid with a hungry belly. Residents of Pennsylvania and California are suing Donald Trump, the Agriculture Department, over a policy, Big C, get this, as people want to see the Dodgers win, that has kept roughly 40% of households who rely on the supplemental nutritional assistance programs from receiving any emergency benefits during a pandemic. And the people who are affected by it, for the most part, they look like the people at his rallies. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I wonder if Fox News will report on that, Charlton.
No.
That he's trying to starve American kids. He said, suburban women, why won't you like me?
Yeah.
I'm trying to starve your kids. So you should care about me more than you care about anything else. I don't want your kids to have substance. I don't want them to have proper meals to eat during the day. I know you can't work, but I'm still not going to feed your family.
Isn't that amazing? When Hitler starved the Jews before he burned them in the oven at Dachau and Auschwitz, Big C, he starved them first, and then he burned them in the oven. People say, oh, no, that's not the case. What kind of a person, and there were people applauding, well, those kids, the 545 kids, they shouldn't have come here illegally. Okay, those are Mexican kids, and they came with their families trying to escape a horrible situation. These are white children, and a few people of color, but the country's mostly white. And when your belly's hungry, it doesn't ask what color you are, and they're so dumb, they go to his rallies when he's willing to starve their kids. Your thoughts?
Well, it shows the lack of empathy and intelligence of those people who will sit there and listen to that. When a man tells you straight up that he does not care about your health and welfare, nor your nutrition, and then you still stand there and applaud for it, I have to question your intelligence level.
Well, as he said, the dumb people that come back to the court when they don't show up and they miss their hearing, he said it in his last stomping on the debate. If they're the dumb ones, the ones with a low IQ, they'll show up. It doesn't matter to this man. If you're starving white kids and you guys are going to give them your vote, that's your vote for the suburban white women, because you're the ones that voted for them, and the suburban white men for the most part. So as our sports brethren are arguing over what athlete is bigger, stronger, and faster, that's what POTUS has been doing to you. Big C, I know we're getting around for baseball tonight, and to me, I don't want to see Game 7. I'm not saying that I'm exhausted in sport. I love it all, but I'd rather see the Dodgers wrap it up just because I'm a West Coast guy, and also for the fires that have hit Southern California down in Orange County. This is around Disneyland and up in the hills, the San Gabriel Mountains. Big C, they had wind gusts of 100 miles per hour and fires in Southern California. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Mother Nature's undefeated. She's never lost a series yet. Yes, this is horrific. But this is what's become expected from global warming, Charlton, that this uncontrollable heat on the West Coast and lack of precipitation, this has become an annual thing.
Yeah. In my cynicism, Donald Trump said, man, we have weapons that people haven't even heard of. We've never, as far as I know, had what they say wildfires in the fall in California. Usually this has happened in the summer, when it's 100 degrees. I mean, maybe something's ominous going on. We are what's called a Democratic state, according to POTUS. So Major League Baseball World Series Big C tonight. Game 6 is on. Tampa Bay Devil Rays. The Tampa Bay Rays, they should call them Devil Rays Big C. The Tampa Bay Rays and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Again, the Dodgers 1 win away from the World Series. And Tampa has the advantage tonight because their pitching's more solid. The Dodgers are going to count a lot on their bullpen, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, both teams are going to have to rely on their bullpen, but you need to rely on your bat more than anything. It's about scoring runs. I look at Game 5 when the player attempted to steal home base. Looked like he was safe, and the Rays did not challenge that. And I think that's what flipped the series at that time, because if they had got that stolen base, it may have changed the complexity of Game 5. But, the Dodgers haven't been there in 32 years hosting the trophy.
Yeah.
And they're looking to get it done tonight, Charlton. But this has been a game about streaks when we think about each game of the series.
Yeah.
It's been about a team going on a hitting streak. We've seen dominant pitching from both teams, but it's about having the hot bats tonight.
Yeah, it's amazing. The Dodgers, they have a 3-2 series lead. It's at Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas. Of all things in Texas, a lot of things are being decided in Texas. Juneteenth was in Texas, the last state to release for the slaves, Big C, and now we have the Constitution being really put to the test. The Senate's trying to stop individuals from voting, black and white Americans. It's going to take good people to come together and vote those knuckleheads out of office. I think the Republicans have lost on the down ballot. That's my opinion. That's happening all over this country. So the Dodgers are 1 win away from the first World Series title in 1988. Big C, if Roberts can get this done, would he be considered the best Dodger manager ever? Lasorda never got the 3 World Series in 4 years. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, no, he's not going to be considered the best Dodgers ever. That's like saying that Marv Levy is the best NFL head coach ever because he went to 4 consecutive Super Bowls.
Yeah.
He never won one. He went to 4 consecutive. I mean, getting to the big dance is fine. I mean, 30 other teams, 28 other teams don't get there.
Yeah, that's true.
But to not be able to win it's just an extra long season is all that it is. You're not considered great until you win a championship.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to. But that would only be one championship in the Dodgers' history that he's won.
Yeah.
There's been multiple managers win multiple championships. And in this day and age, it may be harder to win at this level because all the teams that get there are great in every era.
Yeah.
But this would not put him on the pinnacle of being a great Dodger manager.
Yeah, well, I wish them nothing but the best. Again, all the people in L.A., Southern California, if you've ever been down to Disneyland and up in the hills to the east, the wind is blowing out toward the Pacific Ocean. Oftentimes it blows inland from the Pacific Ocean, so a lot of things are going on in the atmosphere down in Southern California. I want to also keep it in L.A. Big C. Last night, I was asking, which do you prefer, a ram or a bear when you eat dinner? If you want to eat dinner, consider the Big C burger. It comes with exotic meats, and it is a really tasty burger. We don't tell everybody what's on the burger, but the Bears and the Rams last night, the Rams actually beat the Bears. They forced 2 Nick Foles turnovers, and they cruised to a big win on Monday night. These are 2 quarterbacks that have been in the Super Bowl, Big C, in the last 4 years, Big C. Your thoughts?
Yeah, but, Nick Foles played a lot better in the Super Bowl than what he has played since taking over the helm in Chicago. You think about his 2 interceptions last night, did not help the Bears at all. The Bears need to find an identity on offense, which they are lacking at the moment.
Yeah.
1 minute they're in a hurry up and they're being successful. Then all of a sudden they want to go into the huddle situation, which allows the defense to substitute and make adjustments. So they don't have the personnel to be running a huddle offense. They have to run everything from the line of scrimmage from this point forward if they expect to salvage this season. They were lucky to be 5-1. They're 5-2 now. But if they continue trying to come out of the huddle, they're not going to have many more wins the rest of the season.
Yeah.
On the flip side, when you look at the Rams, it's all about Aaron Donald and what he does defensively.
Yeah.
Because he makes it easier for his other defensive line mates.
Yeah.
Because when you have to concentrate 2 offensive linemen on him and you have to adjust your line to where he lines up, that's a big burden on an offense.
Yeah.
Jared Goff had 2 touchdown passes. The Rams' running game was solid. But the Bears just seem to be outmanned because they had no continuity. The Rams' defense is playing lights-out football again.
Yep.
They're reminding teams everybody of that team that went to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago.
Yeah, they really are. The Rams needed this game more than the Bears. The Bears fall to second place behind the Green Bay Packers, but you're not going to look at Detroit or Minnesota challenging for a playoff spot. In the NFC West, you have the 49ers. They look good, but they're at the bottom. To beat up on New England the way they did, traveling across the country, and they're still last place in the NFC West. The Rams are challenging right now with Seattle and also Arizona for those 3 playoff spots. Maybe 4 will come out of the West, but probably just 3. So congratulations to both games. Both teams last night. They're still in playoff contention and have a chance to do well as they look forward to getting into the playoffs, Big C. But I love SoFi Stadium. It's going to be great to see it packed with hopefully people whenever the COVID-19 is solved. I want to run into Big C's NFL Power Rankings. I know there's so much, Big C. It's like a menu. We can change it every week because sometimes teams get knocked off the top of the heap. But I'm going to go with Big C's NFL Power Rankings. I'm going to start with number 10 and count back to number 1. Just my opinion. You don't have to agree with it. It's all fair and level war. Number 10 in Big C's NFL Power Rankings. I'm going to say because of last night's performance, the Los Angeles Rams are 5-2 on this season. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, moving back into the top 10, the Rams have the personnel to do that. They're in a tough conference, the NFC West. But when you look at how their defense is getting better on a weekly basis, Jared Goff is starting to feel more comfortable. McVay has been very innovative offensively, and the Rams are responding.
Yeah, they're responding, especially, I think last night's uniforms are the best of the nouveau look that I like. I still like the old, when they had the traditional navy blue and the gold pants and the blue helmets with the gold Rams. It's all fair and level war. Number 9, and this might be a low number 9, but they let a couple of games get away. The Arizona Cardinals, they are 5-2 on the season. And to see the way they battled back, they were down by 10 to Seattle with just about 2.5 minutes to play. They cracked Big C's number 9 at Big C's NFL Top 10. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you think about this. 2 years ago, this team had the number 1 pick in the draft when they drafted Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
And people question that. But Kyler Murray is delivering. In his last game, over 400 yards in total offense that he produced by himself.
Yeah.
And his receiving core, now that he has a number 1 receiver in Hopkins, is just solid. The defense is getting better on a weekly basis, led by Buda Baker at safety.
He's good.
One of the most tenacious players in the NFL. Cliff Kingsbury is doing a marvelous job.
Hey, Big C, what happened to all the critics that said Kyler should have played baseball for the A's or played defensive back? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, they can't find him. When you're only 5'8", it's hard to see the little guy.
Yeah, he and Barry Sanders saying, what my cleats look like when I'm running past is all fair and level war. Coming in at number 8 in Big C's NFL Top 10. The Buffalo Mighty Bills, they are 5-2 on the season. They're a little bit punch drunk, but I think they've fought their way back into the number 8 spot. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, this offense has been on the skids. They have not been able to put up big numbers in the past couple of games. I know there was a lot of talk about Josh Allen after the first 4 weeks of the season being in the MVP race. And he seemed to fallen out of contention there. The defense has been exploited a little bit in Buffalo. That defensive line, people have been running the ball against them.
Yeah.
But, they've settled the ship, I think, and, they're in that solid number 8.
Yeah, they come in a good, solid number 8, like the Buffalo Soldiers. They're fighting strong, Big C. Number 7 in Big C's NFL Top 10. The Green Bay Packers come in at 5-1 with Northern California Aaron Rodgers discount double check. The Packers, I'm thinking they're the best team in their division, and if they can just stay away from turning the ball over, I think they'll be strong, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you think about the Packers coming in at number 7, you got to think about how strong the defensive, the rest of the NFL is. I mean, they lost Stanton at wide receiver. They got to get another receiver to go with Devontae Adams. Adam Jones has been a little slow the past couple of weeks, but Aaron Rodgers got back to being Aaron Rodgers with 3 touchdown passes last week. The defense was solid in shutting down the Houston Texans and getting them to 5-1.
Yeah, I'm really liking when things are rolling. Aaron Rodgers played at Pleasant Valley High School up in Chico, and then Devontae Adams played at Menlo Atherton down in the Bay Area. 2 California boys. Coming in number 6 at Big C's NFL Top 10 teams. Down there where you got to have a mason jar to get something to drink, the Tennessee Titans at 5-1. Big C, your thoughts?
And they slid a little bit after that loss, but I question if they should be down that far because the Tennessee Titans If not for a Gostowski missed field goal, that game would have went into overtime. I'm still impressed with Mike Vrabel's defense there in Tennessee. You know you got Derrick Henry, who can always get you some critical yards on the ground. Ryan Tannehill has been one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. That is only his 5th loss since becoming a starter with the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, the problem with that, when you're running into steel, you got to heat it up before it becomes more flexible. They were starting to heat them up in the second half, but still was impenetrable in the first half. It's all fair and level war. We're going to come in at Big C's NFL top 10 teams. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I'm a little bit skeptical because they beat the Raiders and everybody beats the Raiders, but they are 5-2 and they had a dynamic game. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, they've beaten the teams that they had. You got to think about the losses that they suffered came early in the season.
Yeah.
This team was trying to find its stride. Now that they're getting players back healthy, and that defense has been dominant. You know, they did lose their defensive tackle in Vita Vea, but they're going to replace him, Charlton. They lost Mike Evans for some time. Chris Godwin's going to have thumb surgery. They lost Leonard Fournette. But Tom Brady has held everybody in place.
Yeah.
They're going to be adding Antonio Brown, so this team could potentially be even better offensively than what they've been. Todd Bowles has had them playing outstanding defense.
Yeah, they're playing dynamic on defense, Big C. I want to go to Big C's NFL top 10. The number 4 team is the Baltimore Ravens. They are 5-1 on the season, and they're as good as anybody as long as they're playing with elite. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, that's something you don't always have is the lead. I mean, they improved their pass rush when they picked up Njoku last week from the Vikings.
Yeah.
But Lamar Jackson is still the mysterious part of this team, Charlton. He still hasn't been that great, efficient downfield passer. Yes, they're a dominant run team when they have the lead, but if you don't get in the lead, then that run game becomes futile at that point because now you're forcing Lamar Jackson to throw the ball. And realistically, when you look at Baltimore, they don't have a number 1 receiver, so I don't know if they can challenge the top teams up above them.
Yeah, just play be like a politician. You do better when you're out in front. You just got to learn how not to lose, if that makes sense to you. Coming in at number 3 in Big C's NFL top 10. Now, world, listen up. This team that is number 3 at this time probably has one of the best offenses in all of football, but defensively, they let them off the hook, Big C. The Seattle Seahawks, they are 5-1 on the season. You had a bird fight. You ever hear of cockfighting, Big C? These are 2 bird fights, and they got beat down in the desert, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, that's a water bird that lost against a bird that was dry. But, Russell Wilson, 22 touchdown passes on the season, on pace to throw 60 touchdown passes.
Yeah, he's good.
The defense has been the Achilles heel in Seattle. They've had a multitude of injuries on that side of the ball. They haven't been able to keep their running backs healthy. The receiving core is solid for the Seattle Seahawks, and that attributes a lot to Russell Wilson's numbers.
Yeah.
But Pete Carroll has done a marvelous job up to this point. The team is 5-1, Charlton. They're leading the Western Division of the NFC. Seattle is solidly entrenched if they can get those defensive players back.
Big C, you know something I saw that you talked about last week? We saw 2 of the best athletes, period. No matter what their position, when you have Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray, 2 guys that can beat you on the ground as well as through the air. That's impressive to see, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you got 2 baseball players out there playing football.
Yeah.
So they bring that multi-talented athlete to the field.
Yeah, they did a great job. I mean, enjoy that just like you enjoy the Big C burger. It comes with exotic meats, and it really is a tasty burger. That was a great game, and congratulations to Arizona trying to get your wings a fight again. Big C, number 2 coming in at Big C's NFL top 10 is none other than last year's defending NFL Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, they're 6-1, and they went to Denver, and they beat some good old boys high at Big C, if that makes sense to you. Your thoughts?
And I'm not so sure they're not the best team in NFL, Charlton. I mean, when you think about this team scoring 42 points and Patrick Mahomes was only on the field for 14 of them, this shows that you can score in every way that you need to score, special teams, defensively, offensively. That becomes a complete football team. And they just picked up Le'Veon Bell to help.
Yeah.
The defense should get better. They had a couple picks against Denver. They're talking about trading for Quentin Williams, the defensive tackle from the New York Jets.
Yep.
They add him to go along with Chris Jones. It might be unfair for the rest of the AFC West at that point.
Yeah, it's all fair and level war, Big C. I'm going to come to number 1 in Big C's NFL top 10s, power rankings. It's going to be no. I mean, I always feel like I'm being disrespectful sometimes when I say this defense. It's as good as that Steel Curtain defense. I think they're number 2 in the league versus the run, and they're a lot more athletic than the guys that play with Mean Joe Green, even though they're all wearing Hall of Fame rings, Big C. But I'm going to go with the number 1 team in Big C's NFL top 10, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Big C, your thoughts?
And this is all about Mike Tomlin. I mean, you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're the last team that's standing that's undefeated in the NFL. So you have to give them the nod as the best team in the NFL. You realize this is a team that last season went 8-2 when they scored at least 10 points in games.
Wow.
So that lets you know how inept their offense was last year and how dominant that defense was. And that defense has returned, and now they got their leader on offense, Ben Roethlisberger. He has a solid young receiving core that can handle the ball. He has 2 outstanding running backs in Connors and Snell. The offensive line is solid. And when you think about Tomlin, he's on top of the heap. Undefeated right now.
That means, Mike Tomlin, you deserve the Big C burger. It comes with exotic meats. It really is a tasty burger. You just might have to share it with Franco Harris and Mean Joe Green, them good old boys from back in the day. We're going to take the Big C pause as Coach Tomlin eats the Big C burger. We'll be back in just a moment. All right, we are back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the number 1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. There's so many apps you can follow Big C Sports, and I really do appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports. 2 black men speaking to the universe. Really appreciate it. Big C, I want to ask you, maybe you take a little bit of umbrage at your friend, Jared Kushner. He's working with Ice Cube on the Platinum Plan, and he says that black Americans need to have more desire for success. Jared Kushner, the son-in-law of Donald Trump, says that black people must want success. I guess he never heard about racism. I guess he has been sheltered from the American history, and also his father-in-law asking the courts to block voting in Democratic states. Kushner's also been a product of affirmative action for white people. He's been in the White House and been employed until November 3rd. Here's a guy that didn't have to interview for a job. He married into it. Here's a guy that has white skin privilege with he and damn near his whole family members working in the White House, which is an Emoluments Clause violation. So I don't know if they're offering Ice Cube and 50 Cent a part of Donald Trump's cabinet, but he says that black people need to work harder, and these good old boys are listening to him. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, they're listening to him because of the amount of income level that they're at, Dolphins. You have to look at what the Constitution does to people of color. You realize that the United States is the only country in the world that has imprisoned 3 different cultures of people in its lifetime. You think about they imprisoned the Native Americans when they came here. They imprisoned the black people, Charlton, when they came here.
Yeah.
They imprisoned the Japanese during World War II. So if you think that there's equality in this current administration, whose dad came from Nazi Germany, Donald Trump's dad was a Nazi Germany, that they care about minorities, you'll say anything that you can to get a vote. And it showed how stupid and insensitive that Jared Kushner is.
Yeah, and he may not know this, but Donald Trump's dad, his father-in-law, was part of the Ku Klux Klan. He was arrested at a Ku Klux Klan rally in New York in 1973. He said he wasn't part of the Klan. He just liked going to the rallies, but you can read between the lines. It's all fair in love and war. Big C, I want to get on some NFL rumors. The Patriots could explore trading defensive back Stephon Gilmore. Give me if that's a good... they need some receivers. Don't worry about the defense, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I think that would be a good trade for New England because they could get some draft stock for Stephon Gilmore and potentially a receiver in return. It would be a good move. The Patriots are a team that most likely won't make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, they're 6-9 in their last 15 games. It's all fair and love and war. The Panthers, Carolina Panthers, they've activated running back Christian McCaffrey from the reserve and injured list. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, it's going to see how he blends in with this offense, Charlton. It's been pretty successful, and see what he can add to this offense if he gets back out on the field.
Yeah, his brother also plays for the Nebraska Cornhuskers, had a good game against the Ohio State Buckeyes just over the weekend. The New York Jets.
They lost, didn't they?
Yeah, they always lose in Nebraska.
All right,
it's all fair.
I guess they must have scored if he had a good game.
Big C, they played Ohio State, okay? Of course they lost. It's all fair. The Jets, the Jets, Jets. They're thinking about trading defensive tackle Quentin Williams before the trade deadline. Do you buy that, Big C? Your thoughts?
Yes, I do. And a great landing spot for him would be the Kansas City Chiefs to land along beside Chris Jones. If you do that, now the Kansas City Chiefs have one of the better defensive lines in the NFL.
Yeah, and I think the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones, he told someone on the radio, he said, shut up! He told the radio he told him to shut up, Big C. He did apologize later. He thought he was talking to his son. It's all fair and level war. The Cowboys, I believe they traded defensive end Everson Griffin before the trade line. Are they thinking about doing it, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, they sent Griffin off to the Detroit Lions today. I guess he wants to help out Matt Patricia. The Cowboys don't have anybody playing defense anyway, so they won't miss it.
They thought about trading that whole team, if that makes sense to you. It's all fair level war. They're preparing also to start rookie Ben DiNucci, Big C, at quarterback in Week 8 after Andy Dalton suffered a concussion. And I'm not saying that he should do it anyway. Still no phone calls to Colin Kaepernick, who was inducted to the University of Nevada Hall of Fame. And they're saying he's the only quarterback that ever played in Nevada that passed for 20, I think it was 10,000 yards and rushed for 4,000. Only 4 men in D1 football have ever done that, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, great contribution that Colin Kaepernick made at the university level, Charlton. It's a shame that he's not in the NFL.
Yeah, and DiNucci has nowhere near the same talent, but it's all fair in 11 words. When Jerry Jones said, shut up, I guess people, he must have a lot of balls to be telling men on the radio, shut up, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, when you're worth $8.5 billion, you say that's a whole lot.
Yeah, that's all fair. Yeah, when he did apologize, though, it's all fair level war. Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver Chris Godwin will miss Monday night's matchup with the New York Giants, but they don't need him. After undergoing surgery on his left index finger, he can still flip the bird with his middle finger, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, he caught a touchdown pass against those vaunted Raiders down there in Las Vegas, so I guess they challenged him by pushing his finger off.
I heard some people tell me back in the day that they had John Matuzak and all them good old boys that were just bad, and twisting fingers and a lot of other things trying to hurt people. And I guess sometimes it still runs in the blood of I was going to say Oakland Raiders, but now they're the Las Vegas Raiders. But it's all fair and level war, and I hope his fingers. Big C, you ever break someone's finger just to be mad? Your thoughts?
Well, there's been broken, extremities on both sides of the ball, Charlton, mine and theirs.
Yeah, it's all fair and level war. Jerry Jones told a radio guy to shut up. That's just funny to me. So I want to go to the world of college football. And you think about college football, it's exciting to have it back. It really is, Big C. In the Big Ten, does Jim Harbaugh finally have his quarterback? When you think about the starting debut of Joe Milton, this brother can play, Big C. He couldn't have done much better. Michigan won easily over Minnesota. They produced a spat of big plays. Consequently, did not turn the ball over, Big C. And you got to think about this. This kid's like 6'5", 250 pounds. The last time the Wolverines went through a season opener without a turnover, it was 2011. He averaged 9.23 yards per play. That's tops among any Big Ten player who had 30 plays with the ball in his hands. He's going to be a really good quarterback, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, this is something that Jim Harbaugh has been waiting for in Michigan. He's had a lot of alumni and fans, sitting on the edge of their seats in anticipation because they've never had a double-digit win regular season.
Yeah.
But it seems like he's finally gotten off to a good start, beating a ranked team in the opening game and finding a young quarterback that potentially can carry him to that point.
Yeah, and I mean, people talk about going to just leave it for the NFL. I mean, he's always good for 3 or 4 years. Maybe Dallas would give him a phone call also. It's all fair and level war. College football, Big C, speaking of the college level, and I'm going to bring it up, but I still think the Pac-12 should have consideration because they're the second win in this conference in bowl games last year, but based on COVID-19 and starting a little bit late because they put science first until somebody handed them when you go to the grocery store in California, they say, do you want paper or plastic? I was so naive, I kept choosing plastic. Now I understand why, Larry Scott chose paper finally, Big C, and Pac-12's playing again. But the dash to the college football playoffs, the Sugar Bowl, top seed Alabama, and I would say right now, the way things are now, things will always change. 4th seed Notre Dame. Give me your thoughts if you're feeling that, Big C, your thoughts.
Well, I mean, if you're going on records right now and the number of games the teams are going to play, they're going to take the teams in the college football playoff, Charlton, that plays the most games at the end of the season. Pac-12 can only get in 6 games maximum if they play their complete season without any pause. And when you look at the way that Alabama plays, they're a shoe-in.
Yeah.
Notre Dame is still undefeated.
Yeah, still undefeated, but I still saw that Notre Dame struggle to beat Louisville. I think the Pac-12 champion can compete with anyone. Again, they're the second win in this conference in the bowl games, no matter what the bias you Southern guys down south want to say about withholding the votes. You like Donald Trump. Why you want to obstruct the vote in California, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, when you talk about winning this bowl conference, Charleston, some of those bowls, that's all they were. They were playing in a chicken bowl, they were playing in a cereal bowl, they were playing in a rice bowl.
Yeah.
So some of those games nobody's never heard of.
You know, we won the Rose Bowl, the granddaddy of them all, if that makes sense to you. And speaking of the Rose Bowl, right now the way things are, second seed Clemson versus third seed Ohio State. But I'm going to get your thoughts because that, to me, was the better than the national championship game last year with Clemson and LSU. I thought the Ohio State-Clemson game was more, it just was more dynamic, in my opinion, until an ejection happened to Ohio State. Big C, your thoughts?
It was a very competitive game, and if those two teams can make it to the season and match up in the Rose Bowl, you're going to get a rematch of that game that you had last year with two outstanding and dynamic young quarterbacks that are both out of the state of Georgia.
Yeah, and I'm going to say when they see USC has 17 returning starters, I'm going to put them as the Pac-12 champion, and they'll be the number 4 seed. That's just my opinion. If they don't block the votes from the West Coast, if that makes sense to you, it's all fair and love and war. I want to bring it down to the HBCUs. Would you believe that Bethune-Cookman has become the first Division I college to not have any sports played this year because they're still looking at the science like the broadcasters in the broadcast booth. Big C, your thoughts?
You know, and I appreciate that. Bethune-Cookman is down in Florida, and look how many universities are playing sports down in Florida, but they're concerned about their student athletes, and they rightfully canceled all athletics, Charleston, in 2020 and 2021.
Yeah, sometimes, Big C, like Donald Trump is saying, COVID's over. It's over. It's overrated. But Just Roberts didn't attend the Amy Coney Barrett's party at the White House again because he doesn't want to get COVID. Mitch McConnell, he looks like the devil. He wouldn't even go around that because he doesn't want to get COVID-19. Some people say he already has it. That's why he doesn't show up any place. But if people say, hey, it's just going away, like they're starving kids all over the country by not passing bills and they're being sued, that's just crazy. College football, Ohio State. How did Justin Fields start out? You think about the guy we talked about at Michigan. Justin Fields, he started out in his attempt to make up ground on Clemson's Trevor Lawrence and Alabama's Mac Jones, and also Mertz out of Wisconsin, who has a COVID-19 situation. He's going to be on pause for 21 days. But think about the Heisman race. Going 20 for 21, Big C, 276 yards, 2 scores, while he took more sacks than Mertz. He also rushed for 12 non-sack times for 75 yards and a score. Big C, your thoughts?
And, you know, you just talked about him playing in the Rose Bowl potentially, Charleston, against Clemson. I mean, since transferring from Georgia, he has been an outstanding quarterback. He is 15-1, well, 15-1 as a starting quarterback at Ohio State.
Yeah, it's amazing. The talent level, and ironically, Trevor Lawrence was saying he may not even want to come out because he didn't want to play for the Jets or the Giants or whoever else is trying to tank the season. But it's all fair and love and war, Big C. College football, Heisman 5. Want to get Big C's thoughts? You don't have to agree, just a thought. Number 1 still, quarterback from Clemson, Trevor Lawrence. It could have been, in my opinion, it could have been a game to pad the stats. But Lawrence generously let 46-point underdog Syracuse hang around with pick 6. Perhaps he shouldn't be talking about the Heisman and should instead be pushing Clemson's quarterback for the Nobel Peace Prize, if that makes sense to you, Big C. Your thoughts?
You know, he was kind. You know, when you got a wounded dog, you want to be nice to him, Charleston. And that's where he was to Syracuse University. He turned to Orange, man. I think he thought he was throwing the ball against Trump when they said Orange. So, you know, he was kind of being kind during this political arena. But, you know, Trevor Lawrence is as good as he wants to be on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah, he really is he's a good old boy, Big C. Number 2, when you think about it, Alabama quarterback Mac Jones on Saturday delivered a devastating blow to Jones' Heisman campaign. He didn't throw for a single touchdown. It was just an awful performance. Oh, he did complete 25 of 31 passes and averaged 12.5 per throw. But let's be honest, that still counts as a bad day for any guy who's been nearly perfect so far in the season. Big C, your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, you got to knock him down a notch for the performance he had against the University of Tennessee. He still won the game, Charlton. He didn't throw a touchdown passes, but I know a lot of quarterbacks that would love to be 25 or 31, and two of them play in New York. Daniel Jones and what's that boy that came out of USC?
His name is
Darnold. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, but you got to be nice, Big C. He had mononucleosis. I told you, he needs to listen to Hall & Oates about those man-eater girls out in New York City. It might look good to you, but everything that looks good to you, it ain't good for you. It's all fair and level war. Number 3, when you think about Heisman Trophy, Big C, I like quarterback Justin Fields. I mean, how do you force your way into the Heisman conversation in a full month after everyone else got started? It's going 20 of 21 passing, 330 yards, and 3 touchdowns, and he's doing it against Big Ten competition, even though Nebraska should be back in the Big 12 soon. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Nebraska just needs to find some players, Charlton, and you think about the opponent they have coming up this week, they still don't get a day off.
No.
But Justin Fields is a horse. He's he's one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the country, and he's proven it every game that he's played.
Yeah, he's really solid, Big C. I'm going to number 4. This might make you throw up a little bit, but I think about a guy by the name of Robbie Bosco, also Jim McMahon, and then Steve Young, Big C. They came out of the Wasatch area, Big C, in Utah. BYU quarterback Zach Wilson, he's legit. Whether BYU has a real shot at the playoffs is a big question, but Wilson's chances of becoming a Heisman finalist, it looks more legitimate by the week. He finished 302 yards, 4 touchdowns, in another dominant win Saturday. It was Texas State, but that's not the point. He's very accurate, Big C. When you think about it, now he's averaging 12 yards per pass and 16 touchdowns and only 1 interception, Big C. Your thoughts?
And, Zach Wilson is completing about 80% of his passes.
Yeah.
What I've been so impressed with him with is his athleticism. They talk about Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields' athleticism. Zach Wilson is right there. But I think he's even more dynamic in that he can throw the ball from any position, a la Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
So he's a great talent that's going to be proven at the next level.
Yeah, he's going to be very solid. And then I have another player. I want to get your thoughts, and I want to run back up to Wisconsin in a bit. But number 5, University of Central Florida, quarterback Dylan Gabriel. His numbers are absurd through 5 games. Think about it, Big C. 5 games, not 10. Through 5 games, this brother has 2,178 passing yards, 20 touchdowns. The last quarterback to have more passing yards at this stage of the season was your friend Patrick Mahomes in 2016. UFC isn't going to push for a playoff berth. Don't let that keep you from appreciating how good and dynamic this guy Gabriel is. He's been doing his thing. Anyone 2,178 yards, Big C, this part of the season, your thoughts?
Well, people were always excited about Tua at Alabama. Gabriel is a left-handed quarterback also.
Yeah.
But to be averaging over 400 yards a game passing at the college level, Charlton, and having an offense that's multidimensional that has a running game also. He's not playing in a run-and-shoot offense.
No.
He's playing in a conventional pro-style offense. But the numbers that they've consistently put up down at that Central Florida program over the last 5 years have been astronomical. And now he's the best yet to ever have done it down there. And he's just a sophomore. Yeah,
he's just a sophomore. A lot of guys talk about coming out after their junior season because of the money. I think the NFL package is going up even more next year. So a lot of guys, if you're going to make the jump because you're not guaranteed to be injury-free if you're playing at the college level for free. And last I checked, you can't really retire on paperback money. A lot of guys think that's a lot of money. You don't have to pay taxes either. Donald Trump understands what we're saying. I want to run up to the Big Ten again because we talk about COVID-19 and people staying healthy. But think about this, Big C. Wisconsin's quarterback Graham Mertz, the highest rated QB recruit in school history. He completed 20 of 21 passes, 248 yards, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. They shred the Illini, University of Illinois, and it harkened back to what had previously been his best redshirt freshman quarterback starting debut. Think about Jameis Winston, who's on the 3rd team in New Orleans after throwing for 5,000 yards last year. But this young man, think about it, Big C, 25 of 27, 356 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interception. Except Mertz was better from an efficiency standpoint. He racked up a 273.1 rating, and Winston had 252.23. Big C, your thoughts? All right, Bix, we had a little bit of technical difficulty. I think Kushner said that black people don't have we got to try harder. So we got to try harder to block them from following Big C Sports. All they got to do is download the app. Just say Google or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. They don't have to bug our phone. Every now and then you hear the snack, crackle, and pop, and it's traced back to the White House. Why they want to trace a black man's sports show? There's a lot of sports shows they don't trace, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, they want some insightfulness.
Maybe they just want the Big C burger. It is a tasty burger, and it comes with exotic meats. Donald Trump knows that black men made it. He probably say, I don't want it. Take it back. I don't want anything to do with that kind of meat. It's all fair and love and war. I was going over Wisconsin. The quarterback, not how POTUS is trying to stop the vote, but Graham Mertz, the highest-rated QB recruit in school history, completed 20 of 21 passes, 248 yards, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and straight into the Illinois Fighting Illini defense, Big C. It harkened back to what had previously been the best redshirt freshman quarterback starting debut, Jameis Winston, on the bench in New Orleans, 5,000-yard passer in the NFL. What's that get him as a black quarterback? Traded in 13 in New Orleans. And think about this. Winston did his thing against Pittsburgh in 2013. He was 25 of 27, 356 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, but Mertz was better from an efficiency standpoint, racking up 273.1 rating to Winston's 252.23. Big C, your thoughts?
And that performance catapulted Winston on that year to win the Heisman Trophy as a freshman. You think about Mertz's performance in his first Big Ten game, Charlton, which was outstanding. And they were picked to win the Western Division of the Big Ten, but that's going to be in jeopardy now because Mertz has been quarantined with COVID-19.
Yeah.
He's going to have to be quarantined for 21 days. But not only Mertz, the second and third string quarterback at Wisconsin also tested positive. So it's potential to, Wisconsin is going to have to go to an intramural team and find a quarterback.
Yeah, they're going to have to. Now, ironically, this is not like NBA where you got multimillionaires and of course, the best testing. And then they're in a bubble. Wisconsin's not in a bubble. These Big Ten teams are flying around the country. If NFL teams can be hit with COVID-19, it's happened in New England. It's happened down in Tennessee. It's happened in a lot of the Oakland Raiders. Almost every team has been affected at some point in time. And they have more money and an emphasis to keep multimillionaires healthy. Does this make you fear a little bit? Not that you're afraid, but that the Big Ten, they got to look at what's happening to the guys they just played. They just whipped up on Illinois. Are they going to have to start tracing all the players in the Big Ten and putting them on pause? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you got to think about it. Wisconsin is one of the hottest spiking states right now in the United States as far as COVID-19, Joe.
Yeah.
And the Big Ten has a strict protocol that you have to miss 21 days once you test positive for COVID-19. This is just one team, so if Wisconsin gets to the point where they're running out of quarterbacks, they may not potentially be able to complete the season. You talk about the NFL, they had 8 players test positive today in the NFL. One of the things the NFL has is a reserve roster where they have players in contingency, just like having a used tire or a spare tire in your trunk. You can always pull it out if you get a flat.
Yeah.
That's what the NFL has been fortunate with. College athletes don't have that same latitude.
Yeah, that's amazing, Big C. They got a 4th stringer by the name of Danny Vanden Boom. He's expected to be the next man up. Think about it. He's only thrown 1 pass for 3 yards, and that was a 2018 game versus Mexico. And so Wisconsin's scheduled to play at Nebraska and then versus Purdue and then at number 13 Michigan over the next 3 weeks. So they're going to be without their, I won't say Heisman Trophy candidate quarterback because he obviously when you're out for 3 weeks it's not going to happen. But that might send last year's Rose Bowl loser, further into the abyss. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, here it is where Nebraska might get a win out of this situation.
Yeah, that's true. So maybe Nebraska has some people come over there and been given some type of paper bag that has something in it. We don't know. It's all fair and love and war. I know a lot of people are really enjoying this time of year. We have the World Series. It's Game 6 down in Texas. And then we have people are getting out to vote. You got to get out and vote no matter what you're doing. I'm saying vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I'm not a knucklehead to say vote for a president who wants to starve kids and has to be sued by states so that he will release their food program so that kids, no matter what color they are, Big C, A kid going to bed hungry in the wealthiest state or the wealthiest country in the world doesn't make any sense, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, this is what Trump has done. When you run a dictatorship, Charlton, you become a second world country, a third world country.
Yeah.
And this is what Trump has stumped for since he's been president of the United States with the assistance of the Congress.
Yeah.
And when you can eliminate minorities because they're the lesser part of the population, you'll sacrifice those other people. And that's what they've been willing to do.
Yeah, they really got to do it. I mean, you got to vote. I'm emboldened by more people voting, but they've already told you in some of the East Coast states that it may take the post office a little bit of time to get your ballot counted. And they're saying if it's not received by, I think it was Judge Kavanaugh said, if it's not received by Election Day, they're not going to count it. And that's been pushed on by the Republicans in the Senate and POTUS, trying to tell people that may even vote for his butt that your vote won't count because it just doesn't make any sense. It's all fair and level war. I know everybody loves betting, Big C, as we close out for today's show. I know, and I don't bet much, but there's a thing we did on prop betting last year, and a lot of programs are doing the point spread, and we do it too for Big C's picks. But after 7 weeks, we're down to the Cowboys as the lone winless team against the spread at 0-7. The New York Jets are bad when it comes to on the field, but the Cowboys are worse when it comes against the spread. They're 0-7 against the spread. The Packers, the Chargers, and the Steelers are all now 5-1 against the spread for the season. Listen to this, Big C. The road teams continue to dominate, covering at a 56% clip, and the road teams winning at a 58% clip against the spread. Why does betting make more sense? You can actually lose when you win, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, it's all about having more knowledge than what the team does, Charlton.
Yeah.
And this is an easy way for a lot of people to make money. This is the reason why people wanted sports bet more than anything else, was to be able to bet.
Yeah.
It's not so much about who's playing the game, it's the point spread.
Yeah.
And the people in Vegas are pretty good at getting the point spread
Oh,
right.
my goodness. They tend to know what they're doing. Like AFC East against the spread. Buffalo Bills are 3-4 against the spread. The Patriots are 2-4 against the spread. Miami Dolphins 4-2 against the spread. The New York Jets are 1-6 against the spread. So life ain't all bad in New York, Big C. In the AFC North, Baltimore Ravens are 3-1 against the spread. The Pittsburgh Steelers are 5-1 against their spread. And then you look at the Cincinnati Bengals 5-2 against the spread. Cleveland Browns, they're 3-4 against the spread. In the AFC South, Jacksonville Jaguars 2-5 against the spread. Indianapolis Colts 3-3 against the spread. Tennessee Titans, they are 2-4 against the spread. Houston Texans 1-6 against the spread. In the AFC West, the Los Angeles Chargers, Big C, they are 5-1 against the spread. Denver Broncos 4-2 against the spread. Las Vegas Raiders 3-3 against the spread. Kansas City 5-2 against the spread. In the East, Washington 3-1 against the spread. The New York Giants, Big C, they're 4-3 against the spread. The Cowboys, how about them Cowboys, Big C? They're 0-7 against the spread. The Eagles are 2-5 against the spread. There's a lot of spreading. The only thing I love spreading more than the Big C burger, which comes with exotic meats, and it is a tasty burger. There's a lot of things I love spreading, but giving my money to Vegas is not one of them, Big C. Your thoughts?
You know, I love Vegas, Charlton. I mean, they got great drinks, they got great food, they got great atmosphere.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's don't play like
What's your favorite spread? If you can say it, you don't have to. What's your favorite spread in Vegas, Big C? Your thoughts?
the flop on the poker table.
It's all fair. It's love and war. Very well said, Big C. Back in the day, there's a man by the name of Drew Burdini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, I'm looking for an exciting game down tonight, Charlton, in the stadium down in Texas in Game 6 of the World Series. I would love to see it go into Game 7. It's always great to have a gripping, nail-biting series.
Always
and once
great.
again, I want to thank our frontline healthcare workers, nurses, doctors, first responders. You're always having a firm grip on the health of America.
Yeah, it's always great to have a firm grip. People, get out and vote. I didn't finish all the spreading because thinking about that spread makes me think of the Big C burger. It is a tasty burger, and it comes with exotic meats. And I hope that we have a World Series champion crowned tonight. But if not, then we'll have to do it next time. Big C, you can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network. in the universe, iHeartRadio podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. There's so many apps, and I really do appreciate it. As we always tell you, on every Big C Sports show, there's never, ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that garbage, please pick up the phone and ask for help, because no man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage all on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.